Hello, scumbags and fellow rebels. Welcome back to I Rebel. Welcome back. It has been a while since Rebels was last on the air. The episode previous to this was about 14 years ago, but we are finally back. Rebel Season 4 is counting down to its final days, and last night we got the double whammy. That is Jedi Knight and Dume. So let's take a look at these two episodes, guys. I mean, if you've seen them already, oh boy, do you ever know what happened. Well, of course, before we get into it, as always, I just want to remind all you beautiful people out there to please like us and subscribe to our sexy Rebel Scum podcast channel. We are also on Patreon if you want to help us out on Patreon as well. We have a lot of great supporters there. And we love making content. And we can make more content the more lovers and subscribers that we get. Speaking of making content, guys, this video might have gone up, might have gone live on YouTube on some weird, different ways. And if that happened, if it came up weird, it's because I'm the one who's doing it today myself. James is on vacation, so I'm taking the reins on this one, and I'm not a very good uploader. So hopefully everything came through okay. But let's talk Rebels now. Forget about my shortcomings. Let's talk about the rebellion and the huge blow that they just took. We started off the episode with that little promo piece that we got where the Ghost crew is going off to save Hera, and we finally learned what those wings were all about. I thought they were going to go out into space, and I was like, are they crazy? What is happening right now? But no, they're not going to space. They are just flying to the city of like the capital city on Lothal, because that's where Hera is being kept, and they're disguising themselves as loth bats. Apparently that's a new thing. There's loth bats now. There's loth everything. I want to see like some loth rhinos, maybe like a loth gibbon. There's lots of loth animals. I hope there's a loth zoo I can visit. So they take these bats, these fake bats, to the city. I have written in my notes here, Arinda Price. Arinda Price is a big meanie. She starts off this episode torturing the hell out of poor Hera. She's shocking her. She's got her strapped to a chair. She sends one of those interrogation droids at her at one point, and that needle goes in. Oh, that scene was almost hard to watch. Like that was Arinda Price is mean. I don't want to mess with her, but it feels like she's going to get her comeuppance. She was questioning Hera about the Rebel fleet, and Hera's like, nah, B, I'm not telling you anything. So the torturing continues. And then Thrawn comes in. And it was so nice to see Thrawn, because I feel like we've spent this whole hiatus talking about Thrawn and talking about the potential for Thrawn. So just getting to see him was nice. And I saw snippets in there of the Thrawn that we got in the book, of the very polite man who he's very conscious of people's feelings. He's not a tyrant like the rest of the Empire. And for the most part on Rebels, he has just been another Imperial tyrant. And even here, he's shown signs of that. But there were snippets in here of the Thrawn from the book, of that man who's just, he's more an observer. He's not going to be a jerk to you, that kind of thing. And he had her Calicori. And I've been, all throughout this series, I've been keeping track of that damn Calicori. And I've been like, okay, somebody has to get that back, because Thrawn has had that since like the beginning of season 3. Hera needs that back, and we finally get some closure on that. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. So she's being tortured. The rebels come and they mount this whole rescue operation. Ezra and Sabine are off procuring a ship so that they don't have to loath bat their way back. They can actually take a ship. And Kanan finds Hera. And he also finds the Calicori. So he saves them both. And they have this cute exchange. And, well, first off, Kanan has cut his hair now. He's sitting in a cave, and he's all that hair is gone. And at first I was like, when I saw that haircut in the promos, I was like, hey, Kanan, nice haircut. Who cut it? A blind guy? Oh. Sorry. That was awkward. His hair does look weird, but at least now we know why it looks weird. Don't cut your own hair, kids. We learned that the hard way. So Kanan has saved Hera now, and he's rescued her Calicori, and now they are on their way to escape the Imperial base. And then Rook shows up. I almost forgot that Rook was a thing, because we got so little of him in the first half of season 4 that when he showed up in this episode, I was like, oh my god, that's right, Rook is in this. So it was nice to see him. He had a nice little tussle with Kanan, very quick, but it was an important tussle, because in that tussle, Kanan's lightsaber went bye-bye. Flew away, out of his reach. It's gone. His lightsaber's missing in action. So they're going to rendezvous with Ezra and Sabine, and the rendezvous point they choose is on top of a fuel pod. And as soon as I heard that, I started getting panicky, because I was like, guys, fuel is so flammable. What are you doing? And they're standing on top of this giant fuel pod in a cluster of other giant fuel pods. And Ezra and Sabine are going to pick them up. And Rook knows they're there. And Governor Price knows that they're there. And as soon as Price finds out there's rebels around, she dispatches walkers. So we've got a couple of AT-ATs that know they're there. So everything is just... You can tell the episode was really counting down to something big happening. Like it was like that episode of The Simpsons where all the promo kept saying somebody's gonna die, and then everybody is pretending to die and not dying, and everybody's like in the show on edge, like, oh, who's gonna die? And it ended up being, spoilers, Maud Flanders, but that's neither here nor there. It felt like that. It was they were saying this is gonna be big, brace yourself, and it kept... Every little thing that happened, you were like, is this it? Is something going to happen? And Kanan was acting like he knew his time was short. And it turns out it was. Because Price sees them about to escape, and she tells that AT-AT walker, hey, you, go fire on that fuel pod and blow them up. And even the walker pilot's like, are you sure about that? That's kind of our fuel. She's like, no, trust me, just kill them. I know what I'm doing. I have great hair. So he's like, okay, whatever you say. And he shoots at the fuel pod. And it blows up. And we get this gorgeous moment. Oh, man. Kanan uses as much force as he can muster to hold the explosion back and give his friends time to get away. And the music that Kevin Kiner plays during this, haunting. Just friggin' haunting. And the look on Hera's face. The animators, I can't describe what it is, and I'm not going to try to do it because I'll end up looking really stupid and it'll make for a god-awful screenshot if you pause the video. But Hera makes this face that's just pure horrified. She is horrified because she knows what's happening. She knows her man is about to die. And the animators just went all out with that. They didn't try to sugarcoat it, like the way a cartoon normally would, and, have her just be like, oh no. Like the look on her face, like that's the look of a person who's watching the person she loves perish. And they, like I said, they animated her in a way we haven't seen Hera look before, and that got to me. That image stuck in my brain. And everybody is watching, expecting Kanan to hop back on the shuttle, but he's not. He's holding back the thing so they can get away. And Hera goes running to him, and he turns around and stops her too. And I was like, oh my god, what's happening? And then finally we get that money shot. Oh, and when I saw this, Dave Filoni, you are a horrible human being, and I love you very much. Kanan takes one last look back at his friends, and he's using more and more of the force to hold back this explosion, and then his eyes uncloud. And for a fraction of a moment, we see Kanan Jarrus's eyes again, the way that they were before he lost them. Goosebumps, like, everywhere. Even in parts that you don't want to know about. Goosebumps everywhere. And he looks at them with those eyes for just a moment, And then he turns around and he pushes their ship away and just lets the explosion hit him. And the fireball can't reach them, but the force is enough to push them away, and they can take off and they can get away safely. But Kanan is gone. Kanan Jarrus is gone. That's Dave Filoni. That's how he rolls. And I think this was a great send-off. This was a great way to kill a main character like this. It was. There were a lot of possible deaths running through my mind throughout this whole episode, and none of them were as good as this. None of them were satisfying. I would get an image in my head and be like, oh, I hope they don't do this, because that would be kind of weak. And thankfully they didn't do that. Initially when Rook was chasing them, I was thinking like, oh God, is Rook just gonna, tackle Kanan and push him off the edge of the pod, and they're gonna just fall and that's it? And I was like, that's lame. Death by falling is such a friggin' cop-out. I hate it. Unless it's the bad guy in the Lovely Bones. That was death by falling. Ooh, that was good. But no, I really like what Dave Filoni did. I really like how he handled Kanan's death. It was sad, it was poignant, it was beautiful, and it carries on into the next episode. What episode number was it? 11. Episode 411. Dume. Now, I thought, judging from the title of this episode, I thought this was going to be like a flashback to Kanan's past as Caleb Dume or something. But it threw me for a loop. It was not about that at all. It was literally just about the Ghost crew dealing with what happened. And they all deal in different ways, which is really neat. And they go back to their base and they tell the rest of the rebellion, oh, Kanan's dead, and morale is just shot at this point. I mean, Ryder Azadi is like, we have no plan now. Our leader's gone. Like it's bad. It looks dire. So the opening of this episode involves Governor Price now. She's happy she killed a Jedi. Rook even brings her the lightsaber. And she's aware of the fact that blowing up dem fuel pods was a bad idea. So she tries to hide it by focusing on the fact that she killed a Jedi. So she's like, I know, we're going to throw a parade so that everybody knows what the Empire did. And everybody knows the Empire took out not just a terrorist, but a Jedi terrorist. Thrawn Thrawn's on Coruscant. Thrawn went to go see the Emperor in the last episode. The Emperor had something to talk to him about. And I was hoping and praying we were going to get to see Coruscant. But we didn't see Coruscant, but that's okay. But Thrawn is there right now talking to Sheev. And he found out what Arinda Price did to his fuel, because that fuel was for his TIE Defender, and he is not a happy camper. And she's trying to hide everything behind this veneer and throwing a parade and being like, but I killed a Jedi, look. And he's like, I don't care about killing Jedi. That's my fuel. You just compromised my whole thing. Now they're going to fund Krennic's operation instead, whatever the hell he's building. There's a nice little callback to Krennic and the Death Star in the previous episode, actually. But so now Thrawn is pissed because his TIE Defender plan is shot, which I like, because this kind of points us in the direction. This tells us why we don't see those TIE Defenders around in the movies, because production was halted because of this. And that's sort of a beautiful thing that keeps popping up in this episode, because Kanan chose to meet on the fuel pods. He knew that was going to happen. He knew that they were going to shoot on the pods, that everything was going to explode. So not only did he save Hera, but he completed the mission by destroying the fuel reserves. They shut down production of the TIE Defenders, which is what they've been trying to do, at least in this season, for a very long time. So, mission accomplished. Well done, Kanan Jarrus, but now we don't have Kanan Jarrus anymore. And throughout this second episode, everybody's doing their own thing. Hera gets back. Like, first of all, they get back to the camp, and Zeb is like, "Hey, welcome back!" And as soon as I see him smiling, I'm like, "Oh God, this is going to be tough. This is going to be tough." And Ezra is the one who tells him, like, Kanan's gone. And Zeb says, "What do you mean gone? What? He just captured?" And Ezra's like, "Nah, he's gone." and they hug it out, and it's, I'm feeling it. I'm getting the feels. And then Hera goes and just stands on a cliff, and Chopper sees her. Chopper can put two and two together and figure out what's wrong. So he doesn't even make a noise. He just rolls over to her, and he rolls right up beside her, and he extends one of his claws, and he holds her hand. Done. I was so done at that point. Jesus H. Murphy. That was the saddest moment in Rebels, as far as I'm concerned, and in Clone Wars. that was beautiful. Well done, whoever thought of that idea. So Hera spends the episode. She goes into a cave, and Chopper's with her, and she spends the whole episode just mourning. And there's just a beautiful moment that, again, it's such a great testament to how much Rebels is ahead of the curve compared to other cartoon shows. And it's something I've always said about good cartoons, like stuff like Rebels, stuff like Avatar: The Last Airbender, where good cartoons like this will have quiet moments. Everyday cartoons, stuff, just regular primetime kid stuff, there's no such thing as a quiet moment. But that wonderful part where Hera's in the cave, and she just runs her hand along the mural on the wall, and she's just looking at it. She's got a blank look on her face, and Chopper's just watching her. And all you hear is just the sound of her hand on the rock. I love that. And then she just kind of sits down, and she's holding her Kalikori, holding it like it's a stuffed animal, like she's cradling it. It's all she has left of Kanan. And it's like she's holding it so close, and like the point, the top point part is like almost poking her in the eye, and I'm like, girl, watch it. That's a pointy thing. That figures, right? She's trying to have a beautiful moment, and all I can think of is that her Kalikori is about to poke her in the eye. And then meanwhile, Zeb and Sabine, they're pissed. They're dealing. Everybody's dealing with it. They're showing different stages of grief, which I thought was great. Hera is just lost. She's just so sad. She's overcome with grief. But Zeb and Sabine, they're pissed off. Those are some angry guys right now. So they go out and they're looking through binoculars at the city, and they see that there's a parade about to begin, and they see that the factories have shut down and everything, and they're mad. They want revenge. So they get a little closer to the city, and they go up to the freeway that leads into the city, and it was so nice to see that, because that's the stretch of road that we saw way back in episode 1. At the end of episode 1, when it's nighttime and they're riding those speeder bikes around, and I think it's Callus who's chasing them through there. And as soon as I saw that little stretch of freeway, I was like, oh, all the way back to the first episode. That's beautiful. And they see Rook there with some dudes, some stormtroopers, scout troopers actually. And they're like, oh, it's that friggin' guy. What's his deal? And Zeb's like, oh, I don't know, but I don't like him. Let's lure him over here and let's take him out. So they lure Rook over to where they are, and Rook follows them. And then the two of them just gang up on him. They're like, hey, we're not in the mood for a fair fight. Put him up. But then he's got this like shield generator on him, and he turns it on, and he's invisible. And it's like, oh, the tables have turned, and we get this great fight between the three of them. And Sabine sprays her paint on him and stuff, and that was a really cool fight. Speaking of the scout troopers he was with, I want to just backtrack for a second. Brock has this theory, which I like, that the Death Troopers that we met in Rogue One, they're kind of like the angels of death. When you see a Death Trooper, it means somebody big is going to be killed. Like obviously in Rogue One, when we see them, we lose Lyra Erso, and then we lose like everybody on the team. So they are the heralds of death. And I like this theory, and I think so far it's held up, and we saw them last episode in Jedi Knight. It was just for a little bit, but Arinda Price, orders them to, move out and call the walkers and such, and it's Death Troopers she's talking to. So when I saw them, I was like, Brock's right! Angels of Death! And sure enough. But anyway, back to Dume. So Hera's in her cave. She's mourning in a sad way. Zeb and Sabine are mourning in an angry way. Ezra, however, is completely lost. He is just untethered. He has no idea where to go. And then the loth-wolves show up. and they are not happy. Those wolves are scary, man. They're growling at him, and he's like, "Whoa, whoa, what is it?" And they chase him around and they knock him out. Those are mean wolves. I don't like them anymore. They're mean. And they knock him out, and he wakes up in the field, and it's the dead of night. And then another wolf appears behind him. And this wolf is a hell of a lot bigger than any other loth-wolves we've seen. And this one starts talking to him. And even their voices are terrifying. And the wolf says, "I am Dume." And Ezra knows that name. You know, he knows that was Kanan Jarrus' real name. And essentially the wolf tells him he's got to go to the Jedi Temple. I know the Empire took it over, but you need to take it back. Just the existence of this new wolf raises a lot of questions. Okay, because he's calling himself Dume, which, you know, stands to reason. Like, is this Kanan? Is this wolf Kanan Jarrus? Because, you know, Kanan dies, and now all of a sudden here's this ginormous wolf with blue eyes who calls himself Dume. I don't know. I mean, I'm not against, like, when the whole thing was coming out about Ahsoka being the wolf, I wasn't against it. I wasn't like, that's garbage, but I'd rather her not be the wolf, you know? And now it's like this whole other thing. Well, is Kanan the wolf? Is Kanan this wolf, at least? I don't know. We still don't know what these wolves are all about. We don't know what their deal is, how they work, how they don't work. Just like the Bendu. We don't know any of their limitations, nothing. Filoni loves doing that to us, man. He loves pulling these weird, trippy things and making us piece it together for ourselves. And I like it, but at the same time, I hate it because I just want to know, you know, what the limitations are of these beings. But the wolves seem like they're pointing him in the direction of the temple, and they give him this tablet. And the tablet has a picture of 3 hands on it. One hand... I personally think that the 3 hands are indicative of the 3 force beings from Mortis, the Father, the Daughter, and the Son. And one of the hands, if you look at the mural, one of the hands looks like it's giving, the one at the top, which I would assume is the Father. It's giving, let's say, power, for lack of a better term. The hand underneath it looks like it's receiving power. It's going like this. And then the hand at the bottom, which I believe would be the Son, looks like it's defying the power because it's going like this. And I could be totally talking out of my butt here. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I saw. And I want Mortis to happen because I want to be right. And we know we're getting something with them. But that's what that looked like to me. And now it looks they're going there. So we're going to see that. And the episode also had a great little closure on the Kalikori, because if you notice, one of the ends of the Kalikori was always longer than the other because the other end was still to be filled in. And that was Hera's job. And so she fills it in with Kanan. She makes a piece for Kanan, and now it's complete. And that was so... like I said, the Kalikori was something that I always loved, and it's got its closure now. They closed that loop. Well done. So that has been Jedi Knight and Dume. Rebels is back, baby. And we have 4 episodes left in the series. This time next week, we got another double feature. Actually, sorry, I lied. 5 episodes left in the series, because the finale is a 2-parter. But we're almost there. Now I think it's all just coming to a head. It might end at the Jedi Temple. And I like the idea of the climax taking place at the Jedi Temple. But we'll see what happens. I mean, we know there's still got to be some Emperor coming in somewhere, because we saw it in the trailers. We got to find out what happens with Thrawn, what happens with Ezra, Ahsoka, and Zeb. I mean, Hera and Chopper, it's a safe bet we can say, you know, they get away and join the rebellion. But everybody else, and Sabine, those are loose ends that we got to tie up. So, let's see it, Rebels. Home stretch now, baby. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. I'm Andrew Fantasia. And this is a rebellion, isn't it? Isn't it? It's a lot harder to do when it's just one person. I rebel. Insert Jyn Erso quote here. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.
Hey scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.